Hi everyone, it's Clinton from Home Drafting and Design here today talking to you about an upcoming development that we're starting to see in all of the municipalities. It's the accessory dwelling unit. Let's talk more about that. So I'm standing out here in front of the Municipal Town Hall in downtown Clarington, and this is where the magic happens. This is where all of the zoning bylaws are actually written. And of course, today we're talking specifically about the accessory dwelling unit. Now, as you've probably been aware from previous videos that we've talked about accessory apartments, an accessory apartment is a secondary dwelling that we're able to put within the existing structure of a house. Now, one of the things that we've been trying to accomplish for many years with Ontario legislation requiring an intensification in our urban areas is how can we add even more units to a residential zoning? And the way to do that is through an accessory dwelling unit. Conventionally, if we needed to add these accessory dwellings, we would do so using an accessory apartment bylaw. And usually the accessory apartment bylaws allowed us to create a secondary dwelling inside of an existing single family dwelling. So as long as we were inside the envelope of the building, we were able to add an additional residency. Now, with the new bylaws, the accessory dwelling units, it not only allows us to do an accessory apartment, but it also allows us to build a separate structure with an additional residential unit. Now, in a conventional application like what we see behind me, we would probably put an accessory dwelling in a basement area. And if we wanted to use a garage, let's say it were detached to begin with, we'd have to create a breezeway and connect the buildings together to allow us to build anything on top of the structure of the garage, thereby, again, being enclosed within the existing building envelope. But with the new bylaws that are being written for accessory dwelling units, we not only can still do that conventional application, but can create a totally separate structure that has a separate dwelling unit. Now, the bylaws will change from municipality to municipality about accessory dwelling units. However, since we're standing in Clarington today, I thought we could talk about what they have rolled out as their accessory dwelling unit bylaw. Now, the criteria for you to be able to build an accessory dwelling unit, you have to have the proper property for it. Even though each property will be zoned in such a way that it will allow for that third unit, you need to have certain criteria met. The first criteria is that you need to have a big enough lot to allow for a building to be constructed. Now, usually for an accessory building, there's a certain criteria of about 10% that you're allowed to build for lot coverage. For an accessory dwelling unit, you're able to do one of the two lesser things, either 10% of the overall size of the lot, or whatever the maximum lot coverage is for an accessory building. So in a situation where we have 4,000 square feet, we can build up to a 400 square foot building, unless we're only allowed to build up to a 5% lot coverage. In that case, whatever is the lesser of the two is what restricts us. We also need to meet a certain criteria for parking. So just as we had with accessory apartments, we need to add at least one additional parking spot for every dwelling unit that's added. So the initial single family dwelling needs 2 parking spots, and then the second unit needs a 3rd parking spot, and the 4th unit needs a 4th parking spot. So if you're able to put all 3 units on one property, you need to have at least 4 parking spots to be able to manage that. You also need to be able to maintain at least a 30% green space in your front yard. Now, with this bylaw, you're actually able to put the accessory dwelling, if you have space, in the front yard in front of your house. However, you still have to meet the criteria of the front yard setbacks set out by the zoning bylaws. On the side and back lot lines, very similar to an accessory building, there's a certain set off that you need from those lot lines, and it's different than your house. Now, a house usually requires at least about 1.2 meters, but in an accessory dwelling unit, you need at least 1.8 meters from the back lot line and 1.8 meters from the side lot lines. And this works twofold. One, it keeps that new dwelling unit away from all of the neighbors a little bit more, but it also allows us to be within the confines of the Ontario Building Code, so we don't have to be as concerned about fire separations, which is a big concern. Now, with what we've already discussed about parking and about setbacks, it sounds as though if you have the right lot, just about anything could be built, but there are other criterias involved in us being able to build an accessory dwelling structure. First of all is we need to be smaller than the existing family dwelling unit. That's key. because it is accessory. It cannot be greater than what the actual unit is. We also need to meet a certain level of lot coverage. For the bylaws in Clarington, the accessory dwelling unit has to be no more than the less of 10% of the overall lot, or whatever the maximum lot coverage is for an accessory building. So if an accessory building is only allowed to be up to 5% of the lot coverage, we can only build up to 5%. We can't go to the 10%. But if lot coverage happens to be 40%, we're only able to go up to a maximum of 10% of the actual lot area. So if we have a building that's 4,000 square feet or a property that's 4,000 square feet and we want to build on it, we can build up to and including 400 square feet unless the maximum lot coverage happens to be less. Now, just to recap, every municipality, due to Ontario legislation, needs to intensify their urban areas. And the best way that they can do that is through an accessory dwelling unit bylaw, and we can already see some municipalities rolling that out. Here in Clarington, there are specific criteria that need to be met. At least one additional parking spot for every unit that's added. At least one unit can be in the existing dwelling unit, and one can be in a separate building. All accessory dwelling units have to be smaller than the initial dwelling unit on the property. And as far as criteria for where a new building can be situated, it needs to meet at least the front yard setbacks, 1.8 meters off the side and off the rear, and be the lesser of either 10% of the entire lot or the maximum lot coverage for an accessory building. So keep that in mind when you're doing your real estate investing, that there are possibilities for intensifying those properties and getting more bang for your buck with each one. Make sure that you like and subscribe for more information about all of the accessory dwelling unit bylaws that are going out, as well as information on just general construction and knowledge about the field that we're working in here. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.